Okay, guys, I think we're going to get going here. Hello, welcome. Thank you for popping on. This is BioRestore's Performance Hacking 101. My name is Jordan Buchla. I'm going to be the host and the presenter for today, as well as the provider that's involved with this program. Just for the sake of ease here, I'm gonna shut off my video so that my screen is a little bit more full. You guys should all be able to see my PowerPoint presentation going through, and you'll be hearing my voice, all right? Thank you for popping on. Wait to the end for questions. For now, we're going to have everyone stay muted. You can feel free to kind of either jot them down as you go or even enter them into the chat box, and then I'll answer them at the way end, okay? All right, here we go. Just going to be shutting off my video here. Okay. So, like I said, hello everyone. Thank you for popping on. This is BioRestore's webinar, Performance Hacking 101. My name is Jordan Buchla. I'm going to be your presenter for today. I am a doctorate level nurse practitioner, and I also happen to be a world ranked athlete. I have a bachelor's in business management as well, some experience in emergency medicine, physical therapy, and personal training. I also happen to be ranked the second strongest female bench presser in the world at 545 pounds, and the second strongest female squatter in the world at 855 pounds. I've been inducted into the Connecticut Powerlifting Hall of Fame. I've been in the newspaper, on the radio stations, podcasts. You could basically just say that athletics is my wheelhouse. I know what peak performance takes because, well, I live it. BioRestore, which was started in 2016, prides itself on being a company that is geared towards optimizing you in any way, shape, or form, whether it's performance, aesthetic, or longevity. We use hormone balancing, peptide therapy, and stem cell therapy, Botox, cool sculpting, or even IV hydration. Our goal is to make you feel the best that you have ever felt. In our agenda today, we'll be diving deep into the average athlete in regard to their hydration level, micronutrient deficiencies, musculoskeletal injuries, and hormonal balance. We will then be discussing the ways BioRestore can remedy these issues. You will learn about the steps leading up to the consultation, what the consultation consists of, and your next moves. At the end, we'll be allowing questions, so write them down as you go or enter them into the chat box. The objective here is to educate athletes, fitness professionals, and gym owners on BioRestore's science-backed strategies for optimizing athletic performance, recovery, and longevity. This presentation will highlight the role of advanced therapies in filling in common performance gaps and enhancing outcomes. These therapies include IV hydration, targeted supplementation, peptides, and hormone balancing. Attendees will gain insight onto the biological needs of high-performing bodies, understand the evidence behind each intervention, and learn how BioRestore's customized solutions can elevate athletic potential while reducing injury risk. I'm really excited, guys, so let's get going. The average athlete, hydration and nutrition gaps. The average athlete usually trains about 1 to 2 hours. During these training sessions, they lose about 1 to 2 liters of sweat per hour, especially in the summer season. My first rhetorical question here for you guys, as I will have quite a few throughout this presentation, is do you truly replenish 1 to 2 liters of fluid during your training session? And remember, that's per hour. To continue on that notion, a study was completed utilizing urine-specific gravity as a measurement tool. It exhibited that on average, 58% of athletes start training in a dehydrated state. 63 of them remain dehydrated after training, and here's the kicker, 18 to 39% remain severely dehydrated by the end of training. Now that's pretty significant. Now, keeping that in mind, this next stat will hit you pretty hard. Performance impact of even just mild dehydration results in a 2% drop in strength, 3% drop in power, and a 10% decline in high intensity endurance performance. For elite level athletes, these percentages can mean the difference between hitting your goal or allowing your opponent to win. What effects does dehydration have on your body? Just a measly 1 to 2% dehydration increases your heart rate, core temperature, and muscle glycogen usage, all while reducing cardiac output, anaerobic power, and cognitive function. Deficiency in just hydration status is not the only limiting factor here. 11% of all male athletes have an iron deficiency. Iron is essential for athletes because it enables oxygen transport through hemoglobin, which directly impacts endurance, energy production, and VO2 max. Inadequate iron can lead to fatigue, poor recovery, and decreased performance, especially in endurance athletes or even females. In athletes 60 years or older, only 42.5%, I mean, guys, we're talking almost half here, meet adequate zinc intake. Zinc is the second most abundant essential nutrient after iron. Essential nutrient means that it's something our body cannot create on its own and it must be digested through food or supplementation. Zinc supports athletic performance by enhancing muscle repair, energy metabolism, antioxidant defenses, immune system function, also helps regulate testosterone and reduces fatigue. Because athletes lose zinc through sweat and have higher metabolic demands, adequate intake is essential to maintain strength, recovery, and VO2 max. So, after all of that, in summary, most athletes train dehydrated and it's costing them performance. Even mild dehydration has outsized effects. And remember, 18 to 39 of athletes remain severely dehydrated, not just mild. And there is nutrient gaps which can impair training and recovery. Introducing BioRestore's IV hydration. Now, I won't go into large detail of every ingredient of each bag here, but let's look at some key facts. IV fluids can help restore mental clarity faster, especially in crucial and high-stake competitive settings. A study published in Current Sports Medicine Reports showed IV fluids restore plasma volume more rapidly than oral solutions. And this is because IV hydration bypasses the GI tract that allows for faster absorption of fluids and electrolytes compared to oral hydration. IV hydration leads to faster recovery and reduced delayed onset soreness. Some key ingredients that I do want to highlight in these IV bags, specifically the mix and match options in the recovery performance, is the amino complex. There are two types of amino acids, essential and non-essential. Essential means they cannot be synthesized by your body, and we must obtain it through our diet. They are crucial for stimulating muscle synthesis. Non-essential amino acids are produced internally by the body, so they're not required in the diet. But that is only under normal circumstances. There is this gray area that many fail to mention or even to consider called the conditional amino acids. These are typically non-essential, but become essential during illness, stress, or intense training when the body's demand exceeds its ability to produce. The amino acid complex includes lysine. That in itself is an essential amino acid, so that is needed to put into your body. But then you have arginine, citrulline, and proline. These are considered conditionally essential for athletes. I know a lot of you have either heard of or currently use BCAAs, which is branched chain amino acids. Branched chain amino acids are a group of three essential amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. So the amino acids that you get in this IV are not the same ones that you would get from your common BCA drinks. I also wanted to highlight an ingredient that usually people relate to aesthetic use only, which is biotin, which by the way is vitamin B7 if you weren't aware of that. Vitamin B7 supports energy metabolism, glucose, and lipid regulation, as well as oxidative stress reduction, immune function, and protein expression in athletes. And then, of course, let's not forget our friend zinc, where almost half of the athletes over 60 are deficient in. Overall, there are many benefits to these IV bags that if given enough time, I would talk to you guys all night about it, but for your sake, we'll move on. The average athlete targeted supplementation. In a study of 1,100 athletes, a positive correlation was observed between B12 levels and hemoglobin, meaning when one goes up, so does the other, and vice versa. Athletes with B12 levels less than 400 would benefit from supplementation. Why? Because their increased hemoglobin means increased oxygen to your muscles, which increases your sustained aerobic performance and energy production. B12 optimization and hemoglobin levels are directly correlated with greater endurance, improved power output, and faster recovery. Something I love about B12 is that the possibility of toxicity is very rare since it's water soluble and it can be excreted through your urine. So supplementing with it usually only yields positive results. You may or may not have some neon yellow urine though. A powerful antioxidant called glutathione is another favorite supplement of mine. A case study reported 7.2% improvement, which is huge, in time trial performance in endurance cyclists, just following only 4 glutathione treatments with no changes in diet or training. That is huge. Another vitamin that is prevalent in deficiencies, especially as we creep into the fall and winter season, is vitamin D. A systemic review found that 68% of elite athletes have insufficient vitamin D levels year-round, rising to a whopping 74% in the winter. In fact, 26% of American football players have reported vitamin D deficiency. Observational studies link poor vitamin D status, which is usually less than 20, to reduced muscle strength and function, a mechanism that may be contributing to an increased injury risk. Now, when you think of athletes, the ones who are really interested in the aesthetic appearance, such as bodybuilders or even sports that involve weight classes, Lipo-B is an underutilized supplementation that can aid in fat metabolism and body composition. Studies and anecdotal observations suggest that Lipo-B aids in metabolism support. So, in summary, vitamin D has a high deficiency prevalence in athletes and are linked to low levels of muscle weakness and possible increased injury risk. Low B12 levels, less than 400, correlates with lower hemoglobin and a decreased oxygen delivery to your muscles. Lipo-B supports fat metabolism and body composition. Glutathione aids in fatigue suppression, enhances recovery, lean mass gain, and time trial performance. In order to combat these concerns, BioRestore offers take-home injectable vials for your convenience to inject weekly in your comfort of your own home. These orders come with everything that you'll need, including the medication, alcohol swabs, syringes, needles, and sharps containers. Not to mention that the fact that vitamin B12 and glutathione are also able to be added to your IV bag infusion for an extra bump. And just keep in mind, again, the B12, it supports your hemoglobin synthesis, critical for oxygen delivery. Vitamin D fortifies immune health, bone strength, and muscular function. Glutathione enhances your recovery, lean muscle mass gains, improves performance. And Lipo-B has that fat metabolism and body composition support. Now we have reached my personal favorite topic, recovery. Now let's talk facts here. On average, for musculoskeletal injuries, most athletes return in 2 to 3 months. And we know as athletes, that is a long time to be taken from our training. Up to 10% of elite endurance athletes and some swimmers suffer from overtraining syndrome, which is marked by underperformance and fatigue, which often stems from, well, you guessed it, poor recovery. In fact, most athletic recovery occurs within 1 to 3 days post-exercise. Now, how many of you take 1 to 3 days off between your training cycles? I know I don't. Sleep extension studies show that elite basketball players perform faster and shoot more accurately after 10 hours of sleep a night. Elite athletes generally require 9+ hours of sleep a night for optimal recovery and performance. Now, do I have to ask this question? How many of you guys receive 9+ hours of sleep a night? Full recovery for most injuries is about 1 month. For ACL reconstruction in athletes, early return, which would be about less than 9 months, they are now at 7 times the higher risk for re-injury. And I know a lot of athletes who try to speed up their recovery and get back to their field or their sport a little bit too soon. For all of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes listening, your average VO2 max is 42, whereas the optimal high performance level would be greater than 50. Higher levels enhance recovery between explosive efforts, improves endurance in longer matches, and supports overall stamina. So, in summary, most musculoskeletal injuries require 2 to 3 months of recovery. 10% of athletes suffer from overtraining syndrome. Most athletes require 9 to 10 hours of sleep for optimized recovery. Recovery from training sessions can take about 1 to 3 days. And returning too quickly for an injury can make you 7 times more likely to re-injure. And then don't forget the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu athletes, where you have room for improvement for your aerobic abilities. There must be a way to improve our recovery. Now, NAD+, which is nicknamed the anti-aging peptide, is a coenzyme present in every cell of our body and is responsible for cellular processes such as energy production, cellular metabolism, and DNA repair. Naturally, it declines in numbers as we age. Lower levels are linked to type 2 diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. In a 6-week double-blind placebo-controlled study involving 48 runners, NAD+ significantly improved VO2 max and power, suggesting enhanced aerobic capacity. Studies reveal increased endurance, recovery, mental clarity, decreased inflammation, and increased athletic performance. BPC 157, which is found with or without TB 500, stands for Body Protection Compound. It's nicknamed the Wolverine peptide. It's known for its healing properties. It does this through a process called angiogenesis, which is the development of new vasculature supply, which includes capillaries, veins, and arteries. It also introduces endothelial cells and fibroblasts to the area of injury. A fibroblast is a type of cell that contributes to the formation of connective tissue. It is a fibrous cellular material that supports and connects other tissues or organs in the body. They also secrete collagen proteins that help maintain the structural framework of tissues. There was actually some really impressive animal studies regarding the healing of complete transection of tendons. That means that it wasn't a partial tear, it was completely severed. That's super promising. In tendon fibroblasts, BPC 157 upregulates growth hormone receptors expression up to 7 times over just 3 days. This increased sensitivity can enhance tissue repair, collagen synthesis, and regeneration in tendons. Animal studies showed significant enhancement in functional, structural, and biomechanical recovery in muscle, tendon, ligament, and bone injury models, improving healing outcomes. In a small human case study involving 12 individuals with chronic knee pain, relief was lasting over 6 months was reported in 7 out of 12 patients utilizing BPC 157. That's pretty great. The animal studies are a little bit more vast, but that is a pretty promising human trial. Sermorelin. Sermorelin is a 29 amino acid chain peptide that has been FDA approved to treat short stature, but can be used for off-label use. It mimics growth hormone releasing hormone, and it stimulates the pituitary gland to deliver a gentle pulsatile growth hormone release. This pulsatile release promotes a restorative sleep cycle. This leads to longer and more consistent slow wave sleep, which is associated with improved recovery and overall sleep quality. Individuals report less nighttime wakefulness and better rest. Most notice improved sleep within the first 2 to 3 weeks. In 6 weeks, it doubled the 12-hour mean growth hormone. In 16 weeks, the study exhibited men gaining an average of 2.8 pounds of lean body mass. For all you guys out there, I mean, that's pretty significant. And men and women, 16 weeks exhibited increased nighttime growth hormone and IGF-1 levels and improved waist to hip ratio. Now, tesamorelin is another 44 amino acid chain, so it's a little bit longer than the sermorelin, and it acts similarly, but it releases a more powerful release of growth hormone, as opposed to sermorelin's gentle pulse. The FDA has approved the tesamorelin to treat what's called lipodystrophy in patients, which is basically an abnormal collection of fat, primarily in the abdomen. 26 weeks of tesamorelin led to significant increase in skeletal muscle density, measured in HUs, and lean muscle mass area, including a plus 3.5 HU in the rectus abdominis and up to 0.7 centimeters squared gains in lean mass around the trunk muscles. Over 12 months, tesamorelin was strongly correlated with faster phosphocreatine recovery post-exercise, which is an indicator of improved mitochondrial oxidative capacity. Generally, these peptides are well tolerated with minimal side effects. More information can be given during your consultation. The average athlete hormone optimization. For some context here, DHEA is a supplementation used to optimize hormone levels. It is a precursor for testosterone and estrogen. A randomized trial involving athletes using 100 milligrams a day of oral DHEA for 28 days exhibited an increase in total testosterone significantly compared to placebos and can effectively maintain free testosterone levels during recovery. A World Athletics study found that DHEA positively correlated with lean muscle mass measure and physical performance metrics in athletes. Male cyclists had twice the estrogen levels compared to recreational athletes. Now, this is to be believed because higher estrogen levels in cyclists as opposed to other male athletes is usually due to a combination of physiological stress, body fat dynamics, and hormonal suppression from endurance training. In a study during 693 elite athletes, 13.7% of female athletes exhibited estradiol, which is estrogen levels, above average. And based off this next statistic, you will understand why that is not optimal. ACL tears are 2 to 8 times more common in women athletes, peaking near their ovulation when estrogen surges. So basically, in summary, high estrogen levels reduce tendon stiffness, raising the risk of ligament injuries like ACL tears in athletes. There is a positive correlation between DHEA supplementation and increased total testosterone. DHEA supplementation can increase lean mass, muscle strength capacity, and physical performance metrics in athletes. Training should align with menstrual phases for female athletes, which would be building during your follicular stage and focusing on recovery during your luteal stage. BioRestore offers many hormonal replacement options and hormonal support supplementation. Just two of them include DIM and DHEA. DIM is a plant-derived compound formed when the body digests cruciferous vegetables, which would include broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, etc. However, you would need to eat an absurd amount in order to get the accurate dose needed for substantial change. DIM is known for its hormone balancing properties, especially its effects on estrogen metabolism. In a small clinical study, patients taking 300 milligrams a day of DIM for 14 days shift in estrogen metabolism towards a more favorable, potentially anti-estrogenic profile. It has been shown to decrease inflammation and support testosterone optimization. As a side note here, glutathione, as we mentioned before, is a powerful antioxidant, but it also has some great, if you may, anti-estrogenic effects, where it aids in the metabolism of estrogen and helps eliminate it quicker from the body. DHEA is a precursor to sex hormones such as testosterone and estrogen, produced primarily by the adrenal glands. Levels decline, now this is pretty massive here, guys, 10 to 20% each decade past the peak in your 20s and 30s. That's pretty substantial and will add up over time. DHEA is often used by athletes aiming to boost testosterone naturally, enhance muscle mass and strength, improve recovery and fat metabolism, and combat overtraining symptoms and fatigue. Now, the Athletic Performance and Recovery Program, what exactly does it entail? Well, first you call to inquire about the consultation. Then we will send you a text message to complete extensive blood work where we will look at your hormones, vitamins, minerals, your overall health status, which includes a lipid panel, complete blood count, and comprehensive metabolic panel. You then will be prompted to download the Hume Health app on your phone and create a free profile prior to reporting to your consultation. Once your blood work is completed, you will then receive a message to report to your consultation. Once you report to your consultation, we will then utilize the Hume Health Scale, measure your grip strength, which is one of the most important biomechanic measurements for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, golf, weightlifters, and any other athletes that utilize grips. We will then go into a deep discussion about your training, recovery regimen, your sleeping habits, nutrition, and supplementation, including what and when you should take during certain supplementations. There will be plenty of pearls to be given during the consultation, such as the utilization of uncommon pre-workout supplementation, such as baking soda or melatonin, questions. Based off of all of your results, questions, and habits, you and I will be able to pick between the two treatment plans that we offer for you. During the consultation, I mentioned we would be utilizing the Hume Health Scale. It is the closest scale accuracy-wise in comparison to the gold standard of DEXA scan. You stand on the scale barefoot and you hold a handle with your hands. It will then send a painless electrical signal through your body to analyze your visceral fat, subcutaneous fat, muscle mass, hydration levels, your health score, metabolic age, your basal metabolic rate, and it even breaks your body fat and muscle down into each individual extremity so we can become aware of any imbalances. Using the basal metabolic rate, we can then calculate an appropriate daily caloric intake for your specific goals. It also has the ability to connect to other devices such as the Apple Watch or Whoop app to gain more knowledge on your health, such as daily steps, estimated calorie burn, and sleeping schedule. It then saves your results and you can trend them over time. It's pretty cool. There are two options for packages. One offers a little bit more autonomy and flexibility with a month-by-month plan. The other gives the reins fully to me to stack you on what I believe the best regimen for optimization is for most athletes. Again, based off of your consultation with me, we will choose the best fit for you. The Pick Your Combo gives you the option to choose between four categories: the IV therapy, performance boosters, peptides, or hormonal support. So let's say you want to you have an option underneath the flexible pricing. Pick any two, pick any three, pick any four. Let's say you just want to pick two and you want to pick the performance boosters and a peptide. Then you get to choose which one under that category that you'd like to choose from. So for instance, underneath the performance boosters, you want to choose the glutathione. Then the peptides, you're like, hey, you know what? I'm actually really interested in the BPC 157 as well. So then the price would be $325, but you can also get an additional 10% off of any of the bonus add-ons. So let's say you wanted to do another peptide, you wanted Samorelin as well. You can get that as well with an additional 10% off. And for instance, if you got an IV, and if you wanted to pick three and you chose an IV and had a recovery and performance, but also wanted a Myers cocktail, you would get that for 10% off as well. There's also AccuFit sessions, additional peptides, extra IVs, stem cell therapy, hormone replacement therapy, and in-office nutraceuticals to pick from as well. The other package is the one where you give the reins fully to me. What's included? Peptide therapy, which would be 3 months worth of Samorelin and BPC 157. You also would be receiving 3 months worth of glutathione at home injections and 4 sessions of IV recovery and performance. Now, the total value of this is usually $2,700. The special price is $21.99. And you also still get those VIP bonuses with 10% off. These are my references that I used. And so now my favorite quote is how I want to leave you guys with: fix the foundation and then you raise your ceiling. So any questions, guys? I would love to talk some strategy.